name is Kelly Loudermilk, and I like to call myself a huge people nerd. So anything related to the people space, because I also hear people say HR, people operations, people success, people enablement. It's all the same thing in my book. So I am a huge people nerd in the people space when it comes to how do people show up in the workplace. And that does have the infrastructural side as well as the feel good side and the business side. So it's kind of a triangle. But I have been in small businesses as small as 3 people and businesses as large as 15,000. And I've had roles in every vertical within the HR space. So I've been very fortunate to have consulting as well as corporate experience that allows me to better articulate the needs of the business and vice versa, the needs of the people back to the business. So I love what I do and I really dive into the science behind it. So I really love the neuroscience, the neurolinguistics, the psychology, the anthropology, everything that makes us human. And that's really where my foundation is and how you bring that into the workplace. So that's kind of me in a nutshell as a giant people nerd. So I really think communication from the business to the people and the people back to the business, from supervisors to front lines and vice versa, all of the above is the biggest pain point that not only people professions are dealing with, but also just leadership. And I say that from all of the different data points that I've had in my career. So whether that is an employee and survey, direct feedback, exit interviews, listening to managers, listening to front lines, customer listening tours, that's really popular when you're coming into an organization that's new. I would say that is the most common high level consistent theme across size and industry. And that's one reason why I talk a lot about this on one of your former panelists. I talked about how we're translators in the people profession. We translate strategy into reality and vice versa, reality back to strategy. And I honestly believe that's where communication comes in, where this is the future of our profession. The way we translate communication from all the various stakeholders is the biggest pain point that we need to address. How I have moved that needle has honestly varied. And that's why it's so hard to answer, because it really depends on what works for the business. My current company I'm at as a VP of HR, what I used to do at other organizations does not work there. It's not as organic. It's not as adaptive. And so I had to really readjust my communication style and back off. We use more emojis, more engaging type of communication efforts. We moved to more of a newsletter type of format for communications to leaders, for example. This had to really force me to put on my marketing hat. And I actually use the change engines or your communications library, right? I actually use that to help me in this process, which I love. And so it's really critical to meet the business where it's at, and what that looks like is going to vary. But when you can find that magic sauce that works, and you just have to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall until it sticks. But once it does, that's the magic sauce that you need to apply to address that pain point, because communication is hard. It is gray. It is messy. But if you can solve that, that is when you start to see magic happen from the strategy into the reality and vice versa. And culture can truly grow the way it needs to grow. Absolutely. I will give you one tidbit from a neuroscience perspective. We are built for community. That's how we survived anthropologically, right? If you don't have that community, you will not see success. If you do not have that communication, you will not have trust. You will break that, and that will break your culture. So that community and that trust factor around communication is really what drives that culture. And I think a lot of business leaders miss that. And I think a lot of people, professions are starting to realize that and turn on that type of business mentality, like that marketer. And I think that's why, companies like yours, Change Engines, are so great and helpful for professions that are learning how to turn on that muscle, because that will be the future of our profession. Regardless of AI, regardless of all the things, community and communication are what makes a business thrive. That's why it's so crucial for us to understand how to utilize it. Absolutely. You have to get creative. And so I really try hard to start from, what do people just want? They want to be seen. They want to be recognized. They're a human in the workplace. They just want common decency. So one of a few of my programs that I have launched are around like wellness initiatives, and they're not fancy. They're not flashy. And that's okay, especially when you're on a tight budget. But again, it's just education, it's resources, it's consistency that matters. So for example, one of the things that I did when my most recent company that I came into is really just reestablish trust, because there was no trust in the HR department itself. And that came through a lot of communication. It came through reestablishing internal processes where we start to deliver on our promises consistently. Then we started moving into wellness and creating a wellness committee. So I really understand, again, that perception of branding and communication. And when it comes from HR, it does not land the same as if it comes from a peer. And so my committee that I created within the organization I'm at currently is not all HR. It's primarily peers as well as other team members and leaders within the organization. And that's by design. So that way the adoption rate is higher, because when you try to push something from this, this lens of HR, you're already on an uphill battle. So that was one of the things that we built into it. And now it's just consistency. We create consistent posts every month around wellness initiatives. We try to get engagement through Slack. It's just fun things. It's free. It's absolutely free. But it's just this little thing that showcases, hey, you're more than just a cog in the wheel. You're more than just somebody who shows up on a screen. You are a human being in a workplace. How can we try to create a place for you to be more human? And so we do utilize a point system that does help a little bit from a rewards and recognition perspective when we have challenges. But most of the time, it's just this team getting together and saying, what do people want to engage with? How can we facilitate content that would allow for the team to feel seen and heard? So it's very much a marketing strategy type of session. Then we build out that schedule and we follow through with that each month. And it's not so much just pushing out content for engagement. It is actually the consistency that's building the trust that then the team members understand that we matter and that we're capable of taking this forward and that we can engage openly. And that is a foundation that I'm hoping to have, where anytime we do a program, anytime we do rewards, or anytime we do like in a survey, they have that trust built out because of everything else that we've already done consistency wise. So my proudest moments are when I have to get creative and be different than what our boxes as people professions. That's that marketing hat, that's that psychologist hat, that's our business hat, our financial hat, our operations hat, our IT hacks. In some cases, we're IT and HR, right? So I would just say those are my proudest moments, because there's a lot of them, but they're not super flashy. Like, they are these small moments where I showed that I cared, or I showed the communication that needed to be there, that made a ripple effect that changed part of the culture. Now, I'm not saying like I changed culture, but I was a part of that wave that helped lead to the domino effect, that we see things differently. You don't have to fit in a bubble your CEO puts you in, and you don't have to fit in a box that the business needs you to be in. You have to be careful and understand the business and work the, I don't want to say work the game, but you have to be strategic in your audience, that you have space to be creative and still impactful in ways that you may have not thought of before, regardless of company size. And it's those moments that really make the difference that I think people miss. So those smallest things that you do have the biggest impacts. And when you recognize that, you see magic in a way that keeps you going in those tougher days. Today, what founders really and CEOs and partners need to keep in mind at a people first business, it's actually not as hard as you think. And HR isn't there, or people professions aren't there to tell you what to do. And they're not your enemy. Like, we care. There's a level of caringness that we have. And there's always bad beans in every, pot, right? Like that does exist in every profession. And what you see in social media or on LinkedIn may be those bad beans. That's okay. But I guarantee you the majority actually care and want to do a good job. I don't know many people who don't want to do a good job. So lean in to your partners, lean into your people professions. They are coming from a perspective that they see the dots connect. We see the total web. What you change here in IT for this one group, I can tell you what it's going to do for all of these different departments, because I see the departments in a way where I see that connectedness. And that happens a lot in support services types of departments like finance and IT and HR. So I would say lean in to the process. We are not a cost center. We are a partner that tells you and supports you in ways that can help you create an environment where people want to show up and do their best work every day in a way that leads to your ROIs. Now, is there costs to that? Absolutely. That is the case for everything. Same with IT infrastructure. You got to pay to get what you want. It's the same with people. The difference is that the ROI can pay off in dividends, because if you create that, you have your retention strategy, you have your talent acquisition strategy, you have your PR, you have things that you don't even realize when you start at the center, which is over your people. Now, you don't have to be the ping pong table company, but if you communicate in a way and have a partner in your people profession that communicates in a way that gives the transparency, the what and the why, and people understand like that balancing act, you're still going to create that culture. People just want to know. That's as simple as it gets. And HR can help you have a filter on, because we need a little bit of a filter sometimes, to communicate these things in a way that helps showcase the benefit to the employee and the benefit to the business, because we bring that balanced translation of how this can lead to that. And if you have that in your partner, lean into it and you will see the dividends come in for people first, as well as your ROI. It is not about feel good, but I can tell you there are infrastructural changes that will lead to the feel good and the business results when you do it right. And that's what we do as a profession. And that's why you need to lean into us and really utilize us to the capacity that we can, and not just a compliance piece, because it's required, but that's not what we do. That's a piece of it. But what we do is truly translate for you. And you need that to be successful in your scaling.